So I'm Nancy Dilger, and I'm joined with Siobhan Millen today. We're longtime politicos and local precinct officials, judges, help table gurus, and all-around political junkies and nerds. We're excited for our voting speed date with you today. So thanks to each of you for joining us. If there are any questions, we're going to try and anticipate most of them. If there are any questions, and if there is time left over in this session, if you could put them in the chat box, we're going to save them for the end, and Naomi will be navigating those at the end of our session. So it's always great to be with passionate voters and advocates like yourselves. We're grateful for this opportunity that Politica has made for us and appreciate the invitation to present some of our very best tried and true voting tips with each of you today. By the end of this session, we hope you'll be able to take control of your voting destiny, be engaged so your 2020 vote really counts, and be empowered to get out the vote, not only for yourselves, but for others too. I hope you each have a personal device with you, something to look up some great voter tools on, and your voting commitment form that was attached to the Thursday email, and a pen to make some notes. If you don't have those things, no worries. We're sending out an email afterwards and all the attachments will be there, but it might be fun to do it with us. So let's not waste another minute and let's get started. Siobhan?
Okay, so step one is to verify your registration. Each and every election, begin with the voter lookup. And we're going to give you the link right there on the slide. So you know you were registered and you successfully voted last year, so what's the problem? Well, the thing is, it doesn't really matter what you know, does it? It only matters what the Board of Elections thinks they know about you. And sometimes people do get dropped inadvertently or purposely in other states, but in our state, perhaps inadvertently. So it's always good to be safe and look ourselves up. And so you can see, if you will go to that NCSBE website, and it's not a beautiful website, but you can scroll down and look for something that says voter and absentee lookup. And that is going to bring you to a portal where you just type your name in, and we give you time to do that, and your county. And if you have a pretty common name, you might want to put your year of birth. And then at the bottom, hit search, and let's see what turns up for you. So you're going to see that blue line, and then you should see your name and your address. Now hit the link with your name, hit your name, and then you're going to get another screen that has your sample ballot, your election day polling place. You can see that mine's White Memorial. It's going to have your voter history, and it'll have the status of your absentee ballot. Now, because of the new state law, it's not going to have whether you've requested an absentee ballot or not. That got dropped out of the site. But when you have turned it in, it will have whether it's been received or not down there at the bottom on the voter lookout. So if you search your name and under status, you should see either active, inactive, or name can't be found. So if you're active, terrific. If your address and your voter details are all correct, you are ready to vote. If you're inactive, you just need a quick update, and that's going to be very easy, and there's plenty of time. If it says no registration or name can't be found, uh-oh, so glad you checked, and you still have time to register, and there's no time like the present. So for today's speed date, we are not going to complete new or updated voter registrations, but we'll outline how you can update your information with the Board of Elections. And we'll send you all these links in an email after the Election Slam. So when you want to register yourself, you can do it two ways. You can either do it online through the new DMV portal, and that's for DMV customers, people who have driver's license or non-operator's license, and that's recent. That's in this 2020 year. Or you can do it the old school way and get the form and print it out and either mail it or hand deliver it per instructions. And those links will be sent to you. But don't delay your voter registration updates or registering. Do it this week. Also, mark your calendar for 2 weeks after you register just to check your status on the website. And another way of knowing whether your registration was received is you'll get a little gray voter registration card in the mail. and that'll tell you where your precinct is and what district you live in for judicial districts and county commissioners and all that. And last but not least, if you do have difficulties with this step, don't hesitate to reach out to Politica. We're personally committed to helping each and every one of you.
Terrific. Okay, so moving on. We're now registered to vote, or at the very minimum, you've each made a plan to do so very soon. Our next goal is to be engaged and make your 2020 vote count. So be an informed voter by first locating your sample ballot. On September 3rd, you can go to the North Carolina State Board of Elections site where you just found your registration, the exact same site. You have it bookmarked in your device, hopefully. And there's a drop down for the sample ballot. This sample ballot on the screen is one that we just pulled from an earlier primary, but you can see it's two-sided. Yours most likely will be two this year. So my next tip is obviously look up your ballot, but print the sample ballot off in the first week of September. Make notes on it, circle your winners, cross out your losers, research and discern each and every candidate. If you come to my house during election season, you're going to find my sample ballot on my kitchen table. It's never far away. That way, as I'm reading things and on my iPad or a newspaper, watching the news, I can make those notes. Okay, so you have your sample ballot and you're ready to compare candidates, or you want to find the debate schedule, or a whole lot more. The League of Women Voters provides a great tool for all of that. It's Vote 411. It's a short website name. It's easy to remember. It's easy to tell other people about it and pass it on. Vote411.org. Once you go there, all you have to do is plug in your home address, your residential address, and your specific candidates will be populated in this neat tool that will compare them. Side by side, their issues, there'll be links to the candidates' websites. So it's a great tool to use. Another thing I'd like you to consider, and maybe jot down on your commitment form, is what groups do you admire? What publications do you enjoy reading and following? Which issues are your hot buttons? And which candidates and politicians do you follow closely? Most of these will be making endorsements closer to the election if they haven't already. So check out their research, go to their websites, keep those notes. A few of these sources that come to mind for myself, and yours will be different, but Equality North Carolina, that matters to me. They have a voting guide. I'm going to go there. North Carolina Conservation Network, a great website. If conservation and the environment's your thing, there's going to be some resources there you're going to want to check out. The News Observer. Now this one provides some interesting interviews on some of the smaller local races that it's hard to find on some of the national sites. And then North Carolina Association of Educators. That's important to me. You probably have your own professional association. Most of them will do some research on the issues and candidates. Great. Okay, so now we've invested our time and energy, and this is your opportunity to have a strong say in the local policies. My tip here is start early, research one race a day, and I promise you, you're gonna get hooked. You'll do it every election from here on out. This is your ballot, make it count, vote the entire ballot, and remember your key issues or pitches that you wrote on your commitment form when you're preparing for the slam. You're gonna hear more about that and micro-canvassing if you haven't already been there. But how does each candidate relate to those issues? Keep those notes. Your ballot may be long, but your local representatives are crucially important. There'll be judges, state auditors, Board of Education. They all matter and are key to our everyday quality of life in our local communities. Most ballots will be two-sided, so start at the top, flip it over, go all the way to the bottom. All right, so you're familiar with your sample ballot. The last step is to make a personalized voting plan. It's as easy as ABC in North Carolina. We're so lucky. There's the absentee ballot by mail, the early voting in person, or the election day traditional voting. So make your plan today as you listen to the details of each.
All right, well, first we're going to talk about absentee by mail. And this is referred to as a two-step process, and both of those steps can be completed from home. The two steps are to request it, and then once it comes, to fill it out and vote it and get it back to the Board of Elections. So both of those can be no touch, and they're perfect for the pandemic. You can request your ballot now. There's absolutely no reason to wait. And we're going to have that website sent to you where you request it. But on the screen, you can see the absentee by mail form. The form is very basic, and it's gotten even more simplified during the course of this election season. The Board of Elections took a pretty dense looking form and have graphically simplified it. So what you're seeing on the screen there is the new form, which is a lot easier for the voter to fill out. So you got to sign it and date it and return it. One thing to notice down at the bottom, there's two signature holes or areas there. One says for signature by the voter, and one says for signature by the voter's close relative. As you know, you're allowed to request an absentee for a close relative like a spouse, a child, or a parent. And if you do that, you sign that on the right-hand side. You don't need to have the actual voter signature on the left. You don't need both. You just need one or the other. So this is an excellent choice for completing at home during the ballot. The ballots are going to be mailed out starting September 3rd. And mark your calendar for September 15th or 2 weeks after you submit your request form. And go online and make sure and find out why your ballot hasn't come, if it hasn't come. So check online and see the status of whether they've mailed it back or call down to the Board of Elections and find out what's taken so long. All right, a couple of little did you knows. Did you know absentee ballots are scanned at secure nonpartisan Board of Elections meetings? That means the only time the absentee ballots are being worked on is at a bipartisan meeting with all of the 5 members or a quorum of the 5 members of the Board of Elections in the room, keeping an eye on what's happening to those absentee ballots. They're put in the tabulator, but they're not, there's no results tape run. And when they're not being tabulated, they are kept in a secure, locked up cage that has cameras all around it, and the only people that can get in that room have a special badge from the Board of Elections. Another thing to know is that if you change your mind and decide to vote in person instead of early voting, or excuse me, instead of absentee, there's no problem. Just keep your ballot, throw it out, and you will still be in the books at the elections, the in-person election. So that's no problem. All right, did you know that your absentee vote is actually counted or formally tabulated on election night and not sometimes after, as long as it was received by 5 p.m. on election day?
Perfect. Okay, so the next option is early voting in person. And this is very, very popular this year. It offers flexible times, flexible days of the week, and 20 convenient locations around the county to choose from. We're going to send you the website. It'll list all the locations, the driving directions, the addresses, and the times and locations. There's surely one close to you or where you go for work, play, shopping, whatever. The thing about early voting in person is it is a voter's one-stop shop. You obviously can go there to vote. You can go and register and then vote all the same day. Or if you haven't resolved a last-minute voting issue, you can do that in person and then vote. You cannot do that on voter day. So early voting is your one-stop shop. My tip here is bring your printed sample ballot. So many of these places do not have reliable internet, and it's so sad to see someone come in with a device that they think they've saved their choices to, and you cannot get internet service. So be old school, print your ballot, make those notes, and carry it in with you. And this year, of course, wear a mask that's comfortable for you. They will be offered if you don't have one, but come safe and bring a quarantine friend or relative with you. Bring, just bring someone with you. Let's get out the vote.
Okay, the third form is the traditional form of voting, and that will be available even in 2020, and that is Election Day voting on November 3rd. You can always vote in your home precinct if you're confident, especially that your registration is up to date, you haven't moved, and there's not going to be any tricky issues, then this is a great form for voting for you. Again, do bring your printed sample ballot. As Nancy said, a lot of these precincts, church basements, do not have reliable internet service. And do bring a mask and have some patience. We're going to try and keep most of the lines outside for safety. But the polling place will have social distancing and your voting booth will be 6 feet apart. So it will be safe to come in and vote. And of course, be prepared for the weather. If you are waiting outside 6 feet apart, you might be prepared for a shower. Of course, bring a friend or a relative. Just one note, I do work the help table sometimes in my precinct, and there's nothing sadder than a voting having a problem on election day, especially someone who could have voted during early voting. So be aware there are limited options for changes on election day. But if a problem does arise, do request to vote provisionally. Remember, the polls are open 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Terrific. We are all now registered. You know who you're voting for. You know how you are voting. And you've circled on your commitment form which way you're doing that. So let's be empowered and get out the vote of others. You're well-informed and dynamic voting advocates. You have made your personal voting plan and have quite possibly voted early already. But wait, it's not election day yet. It's not over. So you want to wake up on November 4th, confident that you did all in your power to support our great American democracy. I'm with you. There are many of your friends and neighbors and relatives that would welcome your assistance. It is my firm belief that everyone wants to vote, but many find it very confusing and overwhelming. You can help. Too many options, too many races. So let's think about a few things that you can do to actually get out the vote. You could host a Zoom session. Make it fun. Have your friends and relatives make a personal plan like you've done here. You might print off sample ballots, mail them to them, or deliver them to you, or just send a link. If your friends are computer savvy, share the link that Siobhan went over with you. And last, ensure all understand the absentee by mail process. It's so popular this year, and it's not that clear to a lot of people. So share your knowledge. Last and not least, share your knowledge. Be the dynamic voting advocate that you are.
Still have more voting advocacy energy? Wow, you are amazing. Locally, there are lots of great opportunities to engage and help others in democracy. Working as a precinct official is an excellent way to become educated and engaged. It offers a small paid stipend, although we did just get a little raise, hands-on voter assistance, and a satisfaction of knowing that you make a difference. So we'll send you that website, waitgov.com, elections, get involved. There's no better way to learn the logistics of voting than from the inside out. And Wake County has an amazing election board and staff that are right there behind you. You'd be such an asset to the team of 2,000 precinct officials, and no experience is needed.
So let's commit to spreading the voting passion. Our community needs fellow citizens to demystify voting in 2020. You can volunteer at voter registrations, student voting education on campus, or if they've gone home for the semester. You can help them in your neighborhoods. The super important, get out the vote phone banks. All of this is for naught if people don't vote. Politica has partnered with You Can Vote for 4 Get Out the Vote phone banks this October. Please commit to joining on one of these Wednesdays, October 7th, 14th, 21st, or Wednesday, October 28th. You Can Vote is a great nonpartisan organization. They make voting registration safe, easy, legal, and fun. Their training is outstanding, and their track record of getting out the vote is wonderful. Some other excellent choices are to partner with Democracy NC. You can contact them to be a vote protector on October 15th, 31st, or November 3rd, an election protection hotline operator. That's 888 Our Vote. Perfect for those that like to work inside. Or Democracy NC also offers opportunities as elections advocates. You observe and support pre and post-election issues. Democracy NC works all year long as advocates for fair voting. And the last path, if you still haven't found your niche and you want to do something, contact your party, your political party. They will have poll greeters at at polling places, and it helps people really vote the issues down the ballot. Okay, and last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Join Politica NC. It's fun. We keep you informed. The emails are great. And so our date's over. We sincerely hope you've enjoyed it. We want you to take control, be engaged, vote, and empower others. And Naomi, do we have any time for any questions?
I was just trying to share the Michelle Obama quote, but I think we have got 2 or 3 minutes. I don't have any questions in the chat right now. I don't know whether anybody has anything. You will be receiving all the links that both Siobhan and Nancy have talked about. So although this was a lot of information, you should be able to follow it through in the email that you'll be receiving a little later.
I have a question. Can Siobhan or Nancy, can either one of you talk about whether we have ballot drop boxes in Wake County, since I think everybody here is probably from Wake County, and also the process for dropping off a ballot directly at the Board of Elections, at the Wake County Board of Elections? An absentee ballot.
Yes, yeah, that's a really good question, Sherry, and a lot of us would love to have drop boxes. It is not authorized by our legislature, unfortunately, and that was not a Wake County decision, but it hasn't been authorized. Having said that, deep background, I think that Gary Sims in Wake County is trying to figure out a way to streamline the returning ballots process at the Board of Elections, because it's going to be a cluster. If you've ever been over there, their parking lot is a single entry in and out, so there's not even a U. So that's in process. I don't think he will be allowed to have a drop box, but wouldn't it make all kinds of sense if there was a way that you did not have to park your car and get out of it? But to be continued, Sherry. I don't think that that's decided. Also, you can take your absentee ballot to an early voting site. Again, you are going to have to wait in that line, unfortunately, because they do have a single choke point desk that they want everything to come through. So that may or may not be helpful. If you timed it and you went early in the day to a less popular early voting location, that could be one smart way to do it. So sorry, I don't have a more definitive answer about that.
But right now, no drop boxes. And you do have to wait in line because they do want to log in everyone that's dropping off an absentee ballot, Sherry, to avoid a 9th district situation.
And is that true at the Wake County Board of Election as well?
Yes, they really do feel they have to log in the ballot and not just have them floating around. Yeah.
And do you know where the new Board of Elections is located?
1200 North New Hope Church Road, off of New Bern Avenue, a little bit past Tower Shopping Center. It's really pretty easy if you're coming right off the Beltline.
So I think we've maybe got 1 minute before we need to move. Can anybody ask a very fast question?
Can I make a comment? I'm encouraging everyone to mail the ballots and actually put first class postage on it. I think when our ballots come, it's going to be bulk rate, and if you put first class postage, you can be more confident that it will actually get there in time. And I think the early voting or the registration deadline is October 9th, except for voting, registration at early voting.
Those are two really good points, Lois. October 9th is correct. And yes, you should put a 55-cent first class stamp on it. Supposedly the Postal Service is supposed to deliver it without a stamp, but no one wants to take a chance with their vote. So get yourself a stamp. Tell your youngsters to get themselves a stamp.
Time's
They
up, team.